Hi, I'm Stephanie Spallino, and this is my husband, Pete Spallino. We've been attending Restore for 5 years. We have two beautiful children, Eliana, she's 8, and Leonardo, he's 6. This is our testimony about being obedient and tithing.
We were both feeling the Lord speak to us to start to become more regular, more structured. And at that time is when it slowly increased to giving 10% of net income through writing a check, because we figured, this would be a way to have it more structured. And so Stephanie and I did that for several years, and it's almost plateaued. And during that time, I was asking God often, questioning, is it net a tithe or is it gross? And that's when, come January 2018, at the vision meeting for Restore, Pastor Adam mentioned, just in passing, hey, you should be giving 10% of your income, your family income, to the church. And if you're asking if it's net or gross, the answer is gross. And I came home that night, felt very convicted, felt that the Lord was telling me that, it's time to step out in faith. And at that point, babe, I don't recall exactly how I brought it up to you or how we discussed it.
I don't know.
That's all. I wasn't sure if we wanted to kind of start further, or just, hey, back in 2.5 years ago, at the time we were giving 10% of our net faithfully, and it wasn't always easy. Some months were better than others, but I was questioning whether we should be giving more, and is it net or gross? And then when Pastor Adam said that, it really spoke to me. You don't remember the conversation, do you? Specifically around when I said, hey, what if we increase?
I do. I just remember you saying that. Should we increase to 10% of gross? And I was like, it's nerve-wracking for me because I don't work, and so I'm the one who always holds on to the money, to the pennies, and so Pete was like, no, I feel like we should pray about this. I felt really convicted, and I was like, God has always been faithful, and I trust you. So whatever, if you feel convicted, then we should do it. And so we said we were going to do it, and we've never looked back.
Yeah, I recall the first couple of times being like, wow, this is different. This is more. And that's when we really shifted to doing it first before we paid any other bill, because there could be more month than money in at times. Yeah. And so we didn't want to be in a situation where after paying the mortgage, the bills, other items, that, oh, well, here's what's left over, God, this is what you get.
Yes.
We really make it a point to do it first that Friday.
Yeah, because it makes it, like you said, it just makes it easier when your starting number is after what you've already given to God. So if you wait, there's no way that for where we are now, there's no way that we would do it. Some months it's really hard, so when we start, because that's my job. My job is to write down the number, so.
Yeah, and really this didn't really become, I feel like God can do things overnight and have breakthroughs and miracles that happen overnight. We did this. We made this decision back in January 2019 to increase to the gross, and in May of that year is when I had one of my first big deals at work close, and something that I've been working on for 2-3 years. So many roadblocks, obstacles, and all of a sudden the door opened. And that was May 19. And then since then, it seems like, there's been other things that just have been so far beyond anything that we can imagine. And it's all God, and it's not coincidence. And we didn't know it at the time when we, as we're giving and being faithful. But now looking back to know that we made the decision in January of that year, and to think about what's happened since then has just been incredible.
Can you talk a bit about your monthly pay? Because you don't get, like, you're not a salary, right?
No.
And I think that's often a big obstacle for people is in sales to say, I don't know
That's true.
each month what's going to come in.
Yes,
so
because we don't. So
Yeah, being in sales, about 65% of my pay is variable commissions based on the deals that are closing, the revenues that's coming in. So every month's different. You never know really what you're gonna have take home, and so it's difficult to be to have a set amount every 2 weeks that you're giving, because it's going to vary based on the money coming in.
yes, but we always base it on what we have coming in and so we don't focus on a number, but also life, right? Life happens. So that's why it's so important to do the tithe first, and we always do it together. We always pay our bills together, and we do our tithes together, so we're on the same page and we know what's coming and going. But because life happens and you get unexpected bills, medical bills, that type of stuff, doing the tithe first, putting our trust in God and giving God the money first, then no matter what happens after, we're able to just figure it all out, and God always works it out. We've never had I can't say never, but there hasn't been many times where we felt like we shouldn't have done that, or felt like we couldn't figure out a bill, because God has provided. He really has for us.
I've always been the worrier about money and finances. That's always been the area that I feel like I've always needed the most work on with the Lord. And that's where that has now led to other areas of my life that I can clearly hear from the Lord better than I could previously, in areas in our relationship, or moments where I maybe want to say something, but I know I'm hearing from God that I should probably keep my mouth shut, or do it and approach it in a different way. The deeper my relationship with the Lord becomes, the more acutely I can hear from Him at times where I need to be obedient. Either as a father with my children, as a husband to you, with my team at work. I think that it's just expanded into other areas of my life, but it really began with becoming obedient to the financial piece for me.
Right, and I think with obedience, like as God calls us out, even though it's scary and sometimes we're not sure how it's going to work out, every time it does work out and we step out in faith, our trust and our relationship with God strengthens. And I think that is the bigger picture, is like having that relationship where you know that even though you don't feel worthy, or even if you don't think you're good enough, God has given you all the tools, and He's not going to call you to something without having your back, like being behind you and giving you the strength or the tools. And I think being obedient with the tithing is where it started for us, but even in ministry, in worship for me, in our daily lives with our children, like you said, just being obedient to God and knowing that it might be uncomfortable, but you're gonna grow and He's got your back. It's just makes your relationship with God deeper and straight. He takes your insecurities, and sometimes he just keeps digging on them. You're like, I'm not really good at this. I really love it. I have a passion for it, but I feel like I'm not good enough for it. I'm not really that good. And He just keeps digging, kind of like a diamond. When that story when they say they spin the diamond and it goes through this vigorous process before it becomes a diamond, like a rock. I feel like that's what God does. And every time we're obedient and every time we're stepping out, it's like another layer of that dirt, another layer, until you're like that shiny diamond.
Yeah. Is the element of doing it joyfully and cheerfully.
Yes.
How
Absolutely.
Now it's almost exciting, because we're like, wow, Lord, like what a month it was, or what a commission period this was, we get to do this, we
Yes.
get to
I think that is the biggest difference in your mindset. We've talked a lot about mindset lately, and it's having the mindset that we get to do this. God continues to bless us, and we get to give back so that he can be a blessing, and that, I think, for us, we love giving. It's our favorite thing in all areas, not just financially. We love giving our time. I love giving clothes. I love, that type of stuff. We just have giving hearts, and it wasn't always like that for me because I did not have a lot growing up. And like we said in the beginning, Pete said, I feel convicted to do this, and feel convicted, and my flesh wanted to hold on to the money, the thing, because I felt like, oh gosh, what if we don't have any, that, and so for God to change my heart in particular in that way, it's just been amazing, because I do really love to give, and we do it joyfully because we know that we're investing in the kingdom and God's investing in us. So
another element of this, I feel too, is just the constant developing that God does with you. Like, he never wants us to stay stagnant and just plateau and be comfortable. The growth comes when you're uncomfortable. And, lately the prayer has been, all right, so we're at, this is how we've been doing our giving, Lord. What's next? Is it a couple of percentage points more? Is it, what is the next step to really fulfill our calling? And maybe it's not in regards to giving, maybe it's in regards to serving in another area, but just the idea of that constant growth and development that happens when you're really chasing after the Lord.
Yeah. And I like to encourage people to start where they are, because God meets us where we are. And so this is our testimony, this is our story, this is where we are on our journey. But we started by throwing money in the bucket, or
leftovers,
and
whatever was in the wallet, a couple bucks.
Yes, and then as we grew in our faith, we were convicted. Okay, we need to have a certain amount. When I first started tithing, when Pete and I were dating, I was at church. I didn't tithe at all. Okay, and the bucket came around, and I had this number. Actually, no. The bucket came around, and I just didn't put anything in it. And then I was dreaming, and I woke up, and I had this dream, and God had given me a number, a specific number, random number, and it was okay, you're supposed to give this amount. And I was so convicted by it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So we went to church, and I was like, I'm supposed to give this amount, and I don't know how I'm gonna do it, because I lived paycheck to paycheck. I was young. But I did it. I was obedient, and I did it. And it was scary because I had my car payment, my insurance, my phone, all my things. That's nothing to me now, but that was something, And I gave, and then I don't know if I told you about it. We were dating at the time.
You told me way after the fact. I
Yeah.
remember,
And so then I was cleaning my room. I lived at home with my mom, and I was cleaning out bags, okay? And I pulled out a check that I hadn't cashed, and it still gives me chills. It was the amount that I put in the bucket. I couldn't believe it. And I was just I called Pete, I'm like, can you believe this? It was awesome. It was a good feeling, wow. That's when I started to know that, wow, really, God does have my back. And maybe there is something to this obedience thing after all.
there's protection.
I smelled that.
It's the chili you made. Sorry, it was good.
Oh,
All right.
Gracie, get down. Gracie, get down. Down.
Not a cat.
Go, girl. Look at this. I'll lead.
What?
You just,
What?
I'll pretend like you're leading, but I'll lead, okay? He's like, hold on, quick. Go ahead. Okay.
What is is this, by the way?
It's Eliana's little cactus that she's growing, and there's two in there, so you can't throw it out. Leave it alone.
Okay.
See,
Yeah.
now you know it's him, not me.
All right, yeah, you can go ahead and put your cups in the. I want like B-roll footage of you guys.
Gracie's like, what is going on?
We're gonna show all the bloopers too.
No.